So you will see that Europe has a lot of these scholarships which are really available to Indian or international students. Maybe who are watching this channel will normally not qualify for those kind of scholarships. But that does not mean that you cannot find funding in US being there when the opportunity really opens up. Hi guys, welcome to our new episode. So every day I get messages from people about how do we find scholarships in US, or I have admit to XYZ university in US but the fee seems really high and I am not sure if I can afford it. And it's really sad to receive all these messages because it just shows that people do not understand how scholarships or funding works in US, and they are making efforts in the wrong direction and they end up frustrated. So I wanted to make today's video to bust some of the myths about scholarships in US and how you can truly find funding for your education like the way I did. So let's begin. Okay, before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we have important videos coming out every single weekend. Now, super important video today, guys, because if you understand this well, then you can also do MS for cheap or free just like I did. So I'm going to cover 4 important points to educate you about the reality of scholarships in US today. And the first point is scholarships in US work very differently from scholarships in UK and some other European countries. So UK has many government offered scholarship programs which are available to Indian students too. For example, British Council offers 3 major scholarships: GREAT program, Commonwealth scholarship and the Chevening scholarships. Many other European countries, like for example Switzerland, has something called a ESOP program which can give you great funding at institutes like ETH Zurich. So you will see that Europe has a lot of these scholarships which are really available to Indian or international students. Now here's how it differs. The process here is you have to separately apply for these scholarships and you have to separately apply for the master's program. If you get selected by the scholarship program, then you can show that you have also received an admit from a qualifying graduate program, and the scholarship fund will directly transfer your tuition fee or whatever to that target university. This is how the process works in those countries. Now these are very handsome scholarship. They cover tuition, they can cover living stipend also, they sometimes cover your airfare and visa costs also. And this is the reason you might have seen a lot of your friends or Indian students applying to UK or European universities as well. Now people think that similar process will work in US. So when they start applying or when they approach me that hey, what scholarships can I apply for in US, then I tell them that it does not really work that way. US government does not have really any major scholarship program except for one for which Indians are eligible, and that is the Fulbright scholarship program. But it is so competitive, only a handful students get it each year, so you really cannot rely on it. Apart from that, the US universities per se, they do have need or diversity based scholarships, but they are usually given to people coming from backward countries in Africa or somebody who has really struggled to even receive their education. So most of the Indian students, maybe who are watching this channel, will normally not qualify for those kind of scholarships. So this is why the kind of scholarships that you will find in Europe and UK, they are not there in US. They just are not there, so stop looking for them. There is another kind of funding that US universities do offer sometimes, and that is based on your academic performance, and this is given directly in form of tuition waiver sometimes. For example, in Syracuse we have seen they sometimes give 25 to 50 or maybe 10% only to tuition waiver to some admitted applicants whose probably GPA was very good or GRE scores were very good or something like that. The bad news here is they are given to only a selected few students. The good news is that there is no separate application for it. They consider all the students who apply to their master's program for these tuition waivers and they will select a few who are eligible. So you don't have to do anything separate. You don't have to file a separate application. you don't have write any extra essays or something for these scholarships, you automatically are eligible for those when you apply for master's program. So this is broadly how US scholarships work. You need to understand this if you want to find funding. To summarize, US universities do not do traditional scholarships. You cannot find many scholarship programs that you will apply to and you have a good chance of getting, like in Europe or UK. But that does not mean that you cannot find funding in US. How to do that, I will cover in the next point. Second fact about US scholarship is that you are looking for wrong things. By focusing or trying to find US scholarships, you are wasting your time. Instead, you should be looking for assistantships. What are assistantships? Assistantships are the form of funding provided by US universities to its graduate or any kind of students. And there are three common kind of assistantships you will find. Teaching assistantship, which is TA-ship, research assistantship, which is RA-ship, and graduate assistantship, which is GA-ship. Now, teaching assistantship is given by the department and where they hire you as an assistant to a professor teaching a particular subject. So they would look for your grades in that subject. You must have taken that subject previously in college or otherwise, and you should have demonstrated a very good performance in that subject. Now, departments usually prefer to give this to PhD students first, but sometimes master students also get these kind of assistantships. Second kind of assistantship we talked about, the RA-ship, which is the really good kind of assistantship. I got this one myself at UIUC. In RA-ship, the money comes directly from the professor's grant. So he is basically hiring some graduate student to work at his lab and perform some research activities around his project. In this case, you apply directly to the professor, and if he thinks you are qualified enough and relevant for his work, then he can offer you a RA-ship. Graduate assistantship is a common form of administrative assistantship where you can be doing any sort of miscellaneous non-teaching, non-research kind of work with the department. It could come from the library, it could come from the career services office, where they hire graduate assistants to just help them with day-to-day administrative and operational stuff. Now, the best part about these assistantship is that they are treated as employment by the university, because the university is hiring the student to do certain work, and they usually reward you by giving you a tuition waiver, which could be partial tuition waiver like 25%, 50%, or full tuition waiver, in which case your whole tuition fee is exempt. And they also pay you a monthly stipend, which is usually good enough, which covers more than your living expenses. This is the best form of funding you can look for, guys. I looked for it, I found mine, and this is how I was able to do my masters in CS for free at UIUC. Third fact you need to know about scholarships in US is that most of the funding comes after arriving in USA. Okay, so what happens? We have already covered that best form of funding is the assistantships, and they are usually decided much later on. So only a couple of PhD students or some very, very high performing master students with excellent academic profiles might receive a assistantship offer along with their admit, where the university is really trying to attract the student. But otherwise, in most cases, at least in master's program, what I've seen recently in previous 5 years at least, there are very, very few assistantship offers coming out at the time of admission itself. But the good news is that you don't need to panic if you have not received funding yet, because your chances of finding this assistantship will go up after you have arrived on the campus, because that is when you can truly hustle, truly submit your resume, meet people, and apply for many more positions in different departments. So please don't lose hope if you have received an admit but you have not figured out funding yet. You still have chances of finding it out once you reach US. So and that's exactly how it worked for me as well. After I arrived on campus at UIUC, I took my resume and I started meeting professors. So I was specializing or focusing on networking in those days. So I met couple of networking professors at computer science department and also ECE department, and ultimately I found my funding from Dr. Nitin Vaidya, who was a ECE faculty, because he was doing work in a field related to mine, and I had worked on some simulation software that he was looking for. It's all about like a case of finding that good fit. So take your resume and treat these as like job interviews. They are literally job interviews, so be prepared for them. Meet couple of professors, and if your university has good funding, if the professors have good funding, then I think the chances of finding RA-ship, especially if you're going for a research or thesis kind of program, are pretty high. If that does not work out, you can always meet your academic counselor. So you will be assigned a counselor once you get admitted. Meet them, tell them that you're looking for funding, etc. And also, like, keep applying for various assistantship positions that open up. So usually professors declare that, hey, now I'm looking for TA for this course, if you're interested, please apply. So those positions will be available somewhere on your university portal. So just keep applying, and even if things don't work out in the first semester, I've seen many students getting funding in second semester or sometime later on as well. So don't lose hope. And this is the biggest difference again against UK, because in UK, if you have missed those scholarship deadlines, which are the external scholarship, then it's very hard to find funding. But in UK, your chances of funding are actually better after receiving an admit, and particularly after reaching US. Fourth and most important point I want to cover is networking matters a lot. So as we are seeing, assistantship applications are very close to job applications. Treat them like job hunt, right? And just as we know that networking is really crucial in job hunt, which is something I've covered in much detail in the internship masterclass, similarly, networking can really help you when you are looking for these assistantship positions. Let me give you an example. I had a client who was applying to University of Michigan, and she knew a senior, a college senior, was working with Professor X in a lab as a RA there. Now this senior was graduating this same year, and she knew that her position is going to be now open in the lab. So she referred my client to her professor. The professor went through the resume, then interviewed my client. The professor liked my client, and she offered her the RA-ship position. So my client got this position really easily. So this was possible only because she had this good rapport with her senior, and she was made aware of that this position is going to open up before it was advertised on campus. So she could really apply and get her foot in there before anybody else could apply, and that really improved her chance of finding this assistantship. So the fact is, I think there is good funding available in US universities. Some of the professors have really got a lot of grant money, and they are looking to hire smart kids out there. But not a lot of these positions might be advertised out there plainly. So your job is to really find those opportunities, and the best way to find those opportunities is via people who are around these positions. So it could be your seniors who were working in those positions and they are now vacating it. It could be the academic advisor in the grad school who knows that such positions open up every year. So if you are in touch with him, then he can let you know that, keep an eye out for that department also, because they sometimes look for this kind of assistant. So you have to really put yourself out there. You can't think that I will keep sitting in my room just behind my computer and keep applying and something magically would happen. You should be in touch with people. So talk to seniors, talk to your other international students, talk to your academic advisor, and let them know that you are actively looking for funding. And I've normally seen that people are pretty helpful, and if they like you, they will really let you know when such an opportunity opens up. So it's really all about putting yourself out there and being there when the opportunity really opens up. So those were the biggest facts and truths about scholarship in US from my side. If you are looking for funding yourself, we have a very awesome and detailed 2-hour masterclass called Funding Masterclass for USA, which covers the tips, strategies, and case studies around funding in detail. I think it's great value for money. If you are especially heading for US, do go through it. You will get many tips which might help you find your next funding very soon. So that was it from my side. I hope this clears some of the misconceptions, and I hope that you don't just keep blindly looking for some magical scholarships in US, but try to understand how funding works and apply for the right opportunities. So that was it from my side. I will see you with a fresh video next week. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye-bye.